Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're starting this video outside today because I'm on a morning walk. I wanted to make this video because we're nearing the end of the year and holiday season is in full force. There's never a better time to just want to reflect a little more and have a check-in with yourself. See how you are doing in this time where we see a lot of people and we look forward to a new year and a new beginning. So in this video, I'm actually going to go through that process, share with you guys how I like to think or something in the lens of, physical wellness, emotional, mental. We're gonna go through it all, but I'll do that once I get back. Much better. Gotta say, for anyone who doesn't go on daily walks yet, I highly recommend it. It's like a great reason to get out of the house. It just gets the blood flowing. And I feel like I'm the most creative when I am on my walks, or that's kind of when the jolts of inspiration for my videos come out. So go on your walks, moral of the story. This is my first time actually going over the different dimensions of health on my own or in front of a camera, because typically when I do this stuff, it's like all in my head or just something I think about when I'm walking. And the point of check-ins is just to make sure that you understand how you're feeling from a physical standpoint, emotional standpoint, etc. So I decided to check how many dimensions of health there were because I thought it was just physical, mental, spiritual. That's really it. But if you look on the internet, there's a variety of answers. So some people say there are 5 dimensions, 7 dimensions, 8 dimensions. So I think I'm just gonna try to go for the 8 or whichever ones that I feel like are actually important. So the first one is obviously physical. This is the type of health that we think automatically when we think of health. Physical health is probably one of the most common because it is the most tangible and visible to the naked eye. And it's typically broken into 3 parts. It's eat, diet, and sleep. So I generally try to do a good job of eating well and having the correct macronutrients in every single meal that I eat, which is proteins, carbohydrates, and your fats. I try not to get too granular with the amount of calories that I consume and just try to focus on eating until I'm full, eating healthy, and then occasionally enjoying a nice dessert if I have to. Exercise is something I also feel like I do a solid job on because I just try to stay consistent as possible and I'm not really focused on perfection, it's more about progress. Most recently, I've been injured while I run because I have shin splints and I don't have the best running form. So while I try to correct my running form, I'm also just trying to gauge how I'm feeling during each run. If I don't feel well, I'm not going to obviously push myself to the brink of, greater injury. Sleep is also a pretty big thing. I don't think I'm sleeping as well as I could. The quality of my sleep isn't quite there. For one reason or another, I do find myself going to bed later at night and I'm just on social media or on my phone for really no good reason, and then I should be going to bed and then I don't. And then I wake up later than I would like and I end up feeling a bit more crabby or just not very happy with myself because I'm waking up later and going to bed later. Yeah, I'm one of those people. So sleep could definitely be better. So overall, I'd say physical health is like a B-ish or a B+ because that is something that I try to stay on top of even when things get busy or things get hectic. Like I want to make sure that I'm still putting good food in my body, exercising well, going on my walks. Like walks are great. Making sure that I'm actually resting myself well enough so that my mind and body feel energized for the coming days. So the next dimension of wealth we have is emotional wellness. According to this community college page, being emotionally well is typically defined as possessing the ability to feel and express human emotions such as happiness, sadness, anger. It encompasses optimism, self-esteem, self-acceptance, and the ability to share feelings. Generally, I would say emotional wellness is like, it's fine, like I'm able to express my emotions well. Sometimes I feel critical of myself, but that's also because I'm not in a place where I want to be yet. 2021 is just like such a weird year because it blurred in so well with 2020. I just feel like the days are kind of a blur. Like I'm living Groundhog Day very consistently, and it sometimes feels like there's so much monotony. One of the things that I think I'm still working on is being able to develop a social life in New York City. Thankfully, I have some friends that have moved back to New York, so that's a really great sign. But I really hope that I can continue to just meet new people. I don't feel like I did that much since I've graduated college, and to prevent any sort of stagnation, I just want to try going to new coffee shops, exploring new neighborhoods, just seeing what else is out there and really try to explore New York City a little more. Now, in case you aren't feeling emotionally well, I think there are a couple things that you can do to alleviate this and improve your ability to verbalize or express your feelings appropriately. And the first one is going to a friend and having a conversation with them. You can FaceTime them, you can call them. Like, you don't have to be in close proximity with them. It's more about having someone to listen and respond to how you're feeling, get a second opinion. And to me, that experience has been really helpful, and over the years, I'm very lucky to say that I've accumulated a solid support network, and having that definitely makes tough times easier. In cases where you may not have that, it could be a good idea to either journal about it, write about it on a blog, or find some sort of way to express yourself so that you're not just bottling up your emotions inside. And even seeking therapy could be an option for you. The point is, you don't want to start harboring resentment toward the world or other people or yourself, because that's just not a healthy mindset to live in. Try to be nicer to yourself, which I know sounds really dumb to say, but like, it's important to just recognize that you are a human. Like, that's all you are. You aren't perfect. And as much as we wish we were, all we can do is acknowledge our mistakes and kind of just move on from that. Number 4, we have the intellectual dimension. So this is about stimulating yourself intellectually, making sure that you're learning new things. Are you feeling challenged? Are you learning new skills? 2021 obviously has been huge in terms of intellectual development, because I've been learning YouTube. And I'd say the learning curve for YouTube has been pretty crazy. Learning how to edit, film, come up with ideas, and, you know, craft a YouTube video, which is still, you know, very much a learning process, and I definitely don't have it all figured out. But looking back at how I was January, I feel like I could say I've come a long way. That being said, I do understand the limitations of just doing self-study and learning by yourself. So there are times when I wish that I did have some influencer friends or people who just understand the lifestyle of creating YouTube videos or whatever content it is, or maybe even TikTok. Having that support network who actually can empathize with you and your struggles, I think, is something that I would like to have in the future. Despite what you guys might think, not everything that I say is just a result of me being alive on this earth for as long as I have. Like, it actually takes a decent amount of research and effort to try to craft a compelling story so that ideally you guys learn something from this, or learn from my videos, or at least have some sort of entertainment watching my videos. Being in the self-help niche in terms of YouTube has really broadened my horizons quite a bit on what the self-help niche is about and how it operates. Just the consistency or the patterns that you kind of realize in self-help regarding happiness or purpose, how to find your purpose. Basically common stuff like that. There tends to be more of a canned response nowadays. And sometimes cliche isn't the worst thing, but it's cliche, like it's overused and they just sound banal at one point. Ideally, I don't come across as that type of channel that just tries to spout whatever platitude that there is, and hopefully you can gain something new from this. So that's definitely something that I want to work on. To do that, like, you have to consume more content, whether it's in the form of podcasts, books, YouTube videos, etc. Okay, next we have the social dimension. So this is all about cultivating happy and long relationships. Are you building a proper support network? And if not, then how do you do that? Possibly one of the greatest things you can do when it comes to relationships is being a good listener and actually thinking from the other person's perspective. So if you want to build a relationship with them, if you want them to like you, not to say that you need to get everyone to like you, but you shouldn't be on the opposite end either, where you don't care about what other people think of you. You need to have this happy medium. But if you do want others to think favorably of you, like in a job interview, or if you want friends, you want to be considerate of other people's opinions and recognize that your reality and your truth is not always theirs. People are going to have different perspectives, so the only way to really understand them is to just listen to them. Now, you might think that what I said in the social dimension is kind of similar to what I said in the emotional dimension, and I think that's a pretty valid thing to think because, you know, they are connected. All of these different dimensions of health and wellness play a part in how you feel overall and what defines your well-being or happiness. If you are seeking happiness, which I don't mean like joy, I'm talking about happiness in more of a general sense. Like, are you happy with your circumstances in life? Are your needs being met? And if you want to achieve a higher sense of well-being or happiness, you kind of have to look at how all of these different dimensions kind of relate to each other. Just like how being physically unwell, like if you're sick, you won't be able to do as much work or participate in the things that you enjoy doing, and that's going to put a damper on your emotional and mental health. So it's pretty natural that these things are connected. Next, we have the spiritual dimension. So this is about religion, spirituality, and I'm not particularly a spiritual or religious person, but having just a way of life or the principles that you live by, I think is also a pretty good guardrail for what the spiritual dimension could look like. Wanting to live with integrity or taking responsibility for the things that you do. I think those are pretty good examples of spirituality. In the self-help space, especially with female YouTubers, I noticed that there's a lot of talk with the law of attraction, manifestation, stuff like that, which I'm not super familiar with, and I'm not sure if I completely buy into it, but I mean, clearly it works for them. I don't know if that's something I would explore anytime soon, but I have been curious about affirmations and like how that can affect your goal setting and how your life turns out because of it. Let me know if you guys have any experience with any of that spirituality stuff and how it's affected your life if you are involved in that space, because I'm still very unfamiliar with it and I'm very much a student, but I am curious to hear your stories. I think one aspect of spirituality that I have been working on is allowing others to express themselves freely. This comes back to the seeking to understand before you're understood. Hearing people's perspectives on the way they live life, maybe if there's something I can take away that I can incorporate into mine. I think a really big realization that I've made over the past year is that people can have like very different personalities but still be great friends. And I think that's what a lot of dating apps can get wrong, because a lot of dating apps talk about compatibility and your interests, but it's kind of difficult to find people who have the same values unless you actually put it in your bio, and then as a result it kind of feels a bit cheesy to be like,
I like someone who is honest and has integrity and stuff like that. Like,
usually a bio is more for surface level stuff, so there is a bit of disconnect between what I think dating requires versus what dating apps can provide. The next dimension is environmental wellness. So this is awareness of your relationship with the earth, and I could be doing better. I probably leave a larger carbon footprint than I would like. So being mindful of the things that I buy, perhaps not buying into fast fashion, supporting brands that care about sustainability and are actually incorporating their sustainability values into their operations. I think Allbirds is a great example of that, making shoes sustainably. So finally, our last dimension is occupational wellness. So this is relating to your job, being happy with your job. In the past year, there's been a lot of fervor around anti-work and not wanting to sacrifice your well-being at the expense of your job, which I totally agree with, and I don't think you should slave away just so you can provide labor to an organization organization that ultimately may not care if you died. However, I do think it is important to find a job that you like, because ultimately we do have to provide some value to society, and that's how our society works. Like, everyone has to chip in one way or the other. Now, I don't want to talk about occupational wellness too much because this is relating to my 9-to-5, and you know, I love the people that work there and everyone I've worked with has been great. I just may not be super happy with the work that I do. I won't talk about it too much right now, but I'm hoping I can share some more with you guys eventually in the near future. But in case you are not happy with your occupation, I think it's a good idea to look at the interests that you have versus what kind of market rate salary you would be willing to be paid. Ideally, you find a role that marries both of those aspects well into your life. Don't forget that if you're watching this in your 20s, it's a perfect time to be experimental and exploring as many career options as you can because we are young. I understand that it's not easy to be lost all the time, and frankly, 2021 has been a bit difficult in that respect for me as well, because being lost is like just being a beginner all the time. And while it is rewarding to be learning so much, it's also pretty taxing, I would say. And that may have attributed to some of the hardships for me the past year. Not to say that I have a really difficult life, but these are just kind of the problems and musings that I've been kind of internalizing. And I can't really say that I've found my way yet, even though I've come a long way with YouTube and my job. And I knew that I wasn't going to figure it out overnight, so I'd say occupational, vocational wellness is something that I just need to continue working on. So I think that covered 7 dimensions of health and wellness. I highly encourage you guys to do the same, just so you could do a little bit of a pulse check and observe how you've been feeling the past year and what you would like to achieve or what you would like your life to be like in 2022. So I hope this video was helpful and entertaining, just listening to me ramble about random stuff. But until next time, take it easy.